Hello, and welcome. If you've clicked on this video, perhaps you're carrying the weight of betrayal tonight. Perhaps someone you trusted, someone you believed in has turned their back on you when you needed them most. The sting of it sits heavy in your chest, doesn't it? That bewildering mix of anger and heartbreak that comes when loyalty is met with deception. Before we begin our story together, if you find even a moment of peace here with me, feel free to like this video and join our quiet community by subscribing. Let me know in the comments one small act of kindness from a stranger, from nature, from yourself that reminded you that goodness still exists in this world. Now settle in, close your eyes if you wish. Let's travel together to a place where the ancient pines whisper secrets to the wind, and the morning mist clings to valleys like a soft, gray blanket. Here, in this wild and timeless place, lived a wolf whose story might just illuminate your own path forward. His name was Kael, and he had known no life but the pack from his first breath. He had learned that survival meant belonging, that the howl of his family echoing across the moonlit ridges was the sound of home itself. His coat was the color of storm clouds, and his eyes held the steady warmth of amber caught in firelight. Kael was not the strongest wolf, nor the fastest, but he possessed something rare, an unwavering loyalty that ran as deep as the mountain roots. When the pack hunted, Kael would take the dangerous flanking positions without being asked. When the elders grew weak, he would share his portion of the kill. When the pups wandered too close to the cliff's edge, it was Kael who gently guided them back to safety. The pack trusted him, and he trusted them completely. But trust, like morning frost, can disappear when the light shifts. It began with whispers, hushed conversations that stopped when Kael approached, sideways glances that lingered a moment too long. The alpha, Fenris, had grown suspicious of a rival pack encroaching on their territory. Food had gone missing. Scent markers had been disturbed. Someone, Fenris declared, was betraying pack secrets. Kael noticed the change like a wolf notices the shift in wind before a storm. His packmates no longer met his eyes during the evening gatherings. When he approached, conversations died like embers doused with water. The pups, once eager to tumble and play with him, now pressed closer to their mothers when he passed. He told himself it would pass. Suspicion was like a fever, intense, but temporary. Surely his family knew his heart. Surely years of devotion meant something. But doubt, once planted, grows in the dark corners of a community like poisonous mushrooms after rain. The accusation came on a night when the moon hung thin as a silver claw in the star-drunk sky. Fenris had found fresh scent trails leading to their secret water source, the hidden spring that kept them alive during the harsh summers. The scent belonged to the rival pack, and intertwined with it, unmistakably, was Kael's own. Traitor, the word cut through the night air like a blade. Kael's world tilted. He tried to speak, to explain, but the evidence seemed damning. Yes, he had been to the spring that day. Yes, he had encountered the rival wolves, but only to warn them away, to protect his family's claim. His intentions had been pure, but in a world governed by suspicion, purity of heart matters little when measured against circumstantial evidence. The pack circled him, eyes that had once held warmth now cold as winter stones. These were his brothers, his sisters, his chosen family, and they were looking at him like he was a stranger. Worse, like he was an enemy. Leave. Fenris's voice was final as a closing door. If we see you on our territory again, we will not show mercy to a betrayer. And so Kael was cast out into the wilderness, carrying nothing but his confusion, his heartbreak, and a terrible, gnawing question. How do you survive when the ground beneath your feet, your very identity, has crumbled away? The first night alone, he held until his throat was raw. Not in defiance, but in grief. He was calling to a family that would never call back. The days that followed blurred together like a fever dream. Without the pack's coordinated hunting, Kael grew weak. His ribs began to show through his thick coat. The loneliness was worse than the hunger, a hollow ache that seemed to echo in his very bones. He had defined himself by his relationships, his role, his belonging. Now, stripped of all that, who was he? Winter was coming early that year. Kael could smell it in the air, feel it in the way the leaves released their hold on the branches. He had never faced a winter alone. As the cold crept deeper into his bones and his strength waned, he began to wonder if this was how his story would end, not with dignity or purpose, but with the slow fade of a life that had lost its meaning. He collapsed beside a small stream, too weak to drink, watching the water flow past like liquid starlight. This is where they would find his bones come spring, he thought. If anyone came looking at all. It was there, at the edge between giving up and going on, that Kael first heard the voice. "My, you look like someone who's forgotten how to carry his own weight." Kael's amber eyes opened slowly, focusing on the source of the words. Beside the stream sat the most ancient tortoise he had ever seen. Her shell was weathered smooth as river stones, covered in a tapestry of moss and tiny wildflowers. Her eyes were dark as deep water, and infinitely patient. "I'm dying," Kael whispered. His voice barely a breath. "Yes," she replied matter-of-factly. "But not from hunger or cold. You're dying from the weight of carrying other people's judgments as if they were your own truth." The tortoise moved closer, each step deliberate and unhurried. "I am Sage," she said. "I have been carrying my home on my back for over 2 centuries. I know something about the difference between what we carry by choice and what we carry because we've forgotten we have a choice." Over the following days, as Kael slowly regained his strength under Sage's watchful care, she shared the wisdom that could only come from a lifetime of patient observation. "You believe survival is about being strong enough to fight back, to prove your innocence, to force others to see your worth," she said one evening as they watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of forgiveness. "But true survival is not strength. It's peace. It's learning to live with integrity regardless of whether others recognize it." "But they were my family," Kael protested, the old wound still tender. "How do I make peace with being abandoned by those I loved most?" Sage's ancient eyes crinkled with something that might have been a smile. "Child, forgiveness is not about them. It never was. Forgiveness is about setting down the heavy stones you've been carrying in your heart. It's about refusing to let their fear and suspicion define who you are. Consider this," Sage continued, settling more comfortably beside the stream. "Your pack acted from fear. They were afraid of betrayal, afraid of loss, afraid of making the wrong choice. Fear makes even good people do harmful things. But holding onto anger toward them is like drinking poison and expecting them to feel sick. So, I should just forget what they did. No, my dear wolf. Remember it. Let it teach you. But don't let it own you. Their inability to trust you says nothing about your trustworthiness. Their failure to see your loyalty says nothing about your character. The only person's opinion of you that truly matters is your own, and you know who you are." Night after night, beside the gentle murmur of the stream, Sage helped Kael understand that betrayal, like all wounds, could either poison him or make him wiser. The choice was his. As autumn deepened into winter, something in Kael began to shift. The bitter anger that had burned in his chest like acid slowly transformed into something else, a quiet, steady flame of self-knowledge. He was loyal not because others deserved it, but because loyalty was part of his nature. He was trustworthy not to earn approval, but because integrity was how he chose to walk through the world. "I want to go back," he told Sage one morning as snow began to dust the mountains. "Not to rejoin them, but to protect them. There are dangers in these woods they don't know about. I've seen the signs." Sage nodded slowly, as if she had been waiting for this moment. "And what if they drive you away again? What if they refuse your help?" "Then I'll protect them from a distance," Kael replied, and for the first time in months, his voice held certainty. "Not because they deserve it, but because it's who I am. I am a guardian, whether they acknowledge it or not." And so Kael became something new, something he never could have been while still bound by the need for others' approval. He became the lone guardian of the forest, watching over not just his former pack, but all the creatures who called these mountains home. He learned the ancient paths, the hidden dangers, the secret sanctuaries. He guided lost travelers to safety, warned of avalanches, and drove away true threats with the quiet efficiency of one who protects not for glory, but for love. Sometimes, on clear nights when the moon was full, he would hear his old pack howling in the distance. The sound no longer filled him with longing or pain, but with a gentle blessing, a wish for their safety and happiness, and gratitude for the harsh lesson that had ultimately set him free. The other creatures of the forest came to know him as the Grey Guardian, the wolf who asked for nothing and gave everything. They trusted him not because he demanded it, but because his actions, day after day, year after year, proved his character more eloquently than any words ever could. Kael had discovered the profound truth that Sage had tried to teach him: peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of integrity. Strength is not the ability to force others to see your worth, but the courage to live it regardless of whether they do. And so the wolf who had been broken by betrayal became whole through solitude and forgiveness. He learned that sometimes the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the permission to be who we truly are, especially when others cannot see our value. Perhaps your own story echoes with similar themes. Perhaps you, too, have felt the sharp sting of being misunderstood by those you trusted most. Perhaps you've wondered how to make peace with a world that sometimes rewards loyalty with suspicion and kindness with cruelty. If so, consider this: your worth is not determined by others' ability to recognize it. Your character is not diminished by their failure to see it. Like Kael, you can choose to let betrayal make you bitter, or you can let it make you free from the exhausting work of trying to prove yourself to people who have already made up their minds. The path of forgiveness is not about forgetting the hurt or excusing the harm. It's about refusing to let someone else's fear or blindness define your future. It's about recognizing that sometimes the most radical act of self-love is simply continuing to be who you are, regardless of who's watching or approving. You are not broken because someone couldn't see your value. You are not less because someone chose to doubt your intentions. You are exactly who you have always been: worthy of love, capable of growth, deserving of peace. May you find the courage to be your own guardian, to trust your own heart, and to walk your path with the quiet dignity of one who knows their own worth. Rest well tonight, knowing that your story, like Kael's, is still being written, and the best chapters may be yet to come.